Hi, first grade. Welcome to day 2 for modules. Today we're going to start to dig into some of the text from our module and start to answer some questions about how characters in the stories that we read help birds. So our first story for today is called Lost and Found by Oliver Jeffers. And we have read this before in Crew, and we've talked about the character traits that the little boy is showing to the penguin in this story. But today we're really going to start to focus on how the little boy helps the bird. And the question that we're thinking of as we're reading is this a realistic way to help a bird? So when they say realistic, they mean, is this something that you could do? If you were the little boy and you found a penguin, could you help the penguin the same way that the little boy does? So we're going to go through it today, and I want you to keep this question in mind as we're reading. All right. Lost and Found by Oliver Jeffers. Once there was a boy who found a penguin at his door. The boy didn't know where it had come from, but it began to follow him everywhere. The penguin looked sad, and the boy thought it must be lost. So the boy decided to help the penguin find its way home. He checked in the Lost and Found office, but no one was missing a penguin. He asked some birds if they knew where the penguin came from, but they ignored him. Some birds are like that. The boy asked his duck, but the duck floated away. He didn't know either. That night, the boy couldn't sleep for disappointment. He wanted to help the penguin, but he wasn't sure how. The next morning, he discovered that penguins come from the South Pole, but how could he get there? He ran down to the harbor and asked a big ship to take them to the South Pole, but his voice was much too small to be heard over the ship's horn. Together, the boy decided he and the penguin would row to the South Pole. So the boy took his rowboat out and tested it for size and strength. He told stories to the penguin to help pass the time. Then they packed everything they would need, and pushed the rowboat out to sea. They rowed south for many days and many nights. There was lots of time for stories, and the penguin listened to every one, so the boy would always tell another. They floated through good weather and bad. When the waves were as big as mountains. Until finally they came to the South Pole. The boy was delighted, but the penguin said nothing. Suddenly it looked sad again as the boy helped it out of the boat. Welcome to the South Pole. Then the boy said goodbye and floated away. When he looked back, the penguin was still there, but it looked sadder than ever. It felt strange for the boy to be on his own. There was no point telling stories now because there was no one to listen except the wind and the waves. Instead, he just thought. And the more he thought, the more he realized he had made a big mistake. The penguin hadn't been lost, it had just been lonely. Quickly, he turned the boat around and rowed back to the South Pole as fast as he could. At last, he reached the pole again, but where was the penguin? The boy searched and searched, but he was nowhere to be found. Sadly, the boy set off for home. But then the boy saw something in the water ahead of him. Closer and closer he got until he could see the penguin. And so the boy and his friend went home together, talking of the wonderful things all the way. All right, first grade. So let's go back to our question. Is this a realistic way to help a bird? So I want you to just think on that a little bit. Talk about it with your family or one of your siblings, but think about how this little boy helped the bird. And whether or not, if you found a penguin, if that's something that you could do as a first grader. Take a rowboat all the way to the South Pole and return the penguin. Okay, your job for today is a fun one. So you guys get to pick what you want to do. So today you can draw a picture, you can send me a voice recording, or you can write about the story and something it made you think of. So it doesn't have to be something from our story, but maybe this story made you think of a time when somebody helped you and made you feel really good and looked after. So you want to draw a picture about that. Or maybe this reminds you of a time when you were able to help somebody and make them feel really good and cared for. So you're going to write me a little story. So you get to pick. You can draw, you can send me a little voice note, or you can write about the story and something it made you think of. So you're going to take a picture and upload it to your Class Dojo portfolio. If you want to send a voice memo, have your family help you send it to me over email. Because once I set the preference in your portfolio, you're only going to be able to do it one way. So for now, go ahead and snap a picture. But if you want to tell me your story over voice, have your family record it and they can send it to my email and I'll read it then. I hope you guys are doing well. Take care and we'll see you soon.